What's up, YouTube? I'm gonna just launch up Facebook and then we'll make it happen. What's up, Facebook? What's up, YouTube? Appreciate you guys so much. I'm traveling right now, so I don't have all my setup, but I wanted to go live today for a little bit and talk about a few things. The first thing I want to talk about is the Russia vetoes a UN resolution linked to climate change. So they're talking about security with climate change now. The UN is starting to push that narrative and try to get together to do stuff about that. Russia put up the veto. India's not playing along. It looks like China isn't as well. So we're going to talk about a few of those things. And the second thing I wanted to talk about was Reuters did a report just a few days ago. The CDC admitted that most people who have Omicron variant or whatever they're fear mongering about in the media, most of them are fully vaccinated. They have the stats right here. I think out of 43 cases attributed to the Omicron variant, 34 have been fully vaccinated. 14 of them had the booster shot, and 5 of those cases occurred in less than 14 days. I don't know if they're talking about the booster or the fully vaccinated, but we'll talk about that. And then the third thing I want to talk about is what I learned from Klaus Schwab's book. If you guys don't know, I've spoken about it a few times. Klaus Schwab is the leader of the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum is where governments and massive corporations come together to talk about what they want to do in the world. And because they have so much money and power, they pretty much do what they say they're going to do. I don't think it's a conspiracy theory to say that that's kind of what they do. When you run some of the biggest multinational corporations or some of the biggest governments on the planet, if you have an idea, you pretty much just do it. So, I learned a lot from his book. And the main thing I learned, I'm still reading it, is that climate change is the number one thing that he's concerned about, and he considers it the centerpiece of everything. And he also has very different politics than I have. I think that although it's great to work on a worldwide scale, I think it's better to have, individuality. I think it's great in America that we have 50 different states and we have local, powers pushing back against federal powers. That's my belief. He doesn't think that way. He's more of like a global communist style leader where he wants everybody to smash capitalism. And if you read his book, he uses a lot of socialist communist terms and, thinks of like free market capitalism and competition as a bad thing. So it's pretty clear who this guy is and what he wants. And it's also pretty clear that he thinks climate change is a big way to get there, or we need to do this in order to fight it. So it's worth talking about while we still can. Maria, I think Thunberg said hi from Sweden. What's up? I think that's Greta's last name too, Greta Thunberg. I appreciate it. Maybe we got Greta's family watching the live stream. They're like, yo, here from Sweden. No, I'm just kidding. That's fact check. That's not her family. There's people with the same last names. I'm just kidding, but appreciate you guys on Facebook. Someone said, I miss you. Real quick before we start, thank you, Ontario, Canada. Stay strong. I don't really take breaks very often. I mean, I work nonstop around the clock. I do all my editing myself. So I have 2 things that I'm excited about before I start. Maybe I'll go with 3 and then we'll start the show. First thing is I'm taking time with my family. One of the biggest blessings of doing this, and I have to thank you guys. Thank you to everybody who watches. Thank you to everybody who shares. Obviously, people who buy and donate, that's great. But even if you just watch and share, you've done your fair share. So I want to thank you. The greatest thing that I think that this has brought me is free time. I've worked at many companies and businesses, et cetera, where they give you 1 week, 2 weeks. And because I live so far away from my family, it's not always easy to see them. And pretty much everyone in my family works and doesn't have a flexible schedule. I would say literally everybody. So I have the flexible schedule. So I'm allowed to basically get to my family when I need to and spend as much time as I want without being pressured by work. So I'm very grateful of that. Thank you guys for making that happen. And I'm going to take pretty much an entire month and spend it with my family because I haven't seen them that much this year. So I don't like to take breaks, but it is nice to decompress. I'll probably do less videos in December than I ever have. And then January, hit the ground running. So thank you for that. Family time is precious, and all the money and internet, whatever in the world, I don't think it's as important as spending human time with my family. So I appreciate that. I'm going to do a lot of that this month and not do that many videos. Second thing I wanted to say was in March of next year, my friend who got fired for not taking the vaccination is going to be working with me. So I'm really trying to scale things out. I'm not trying to like sell out or anything. This is my best friend since 5th grade, but it will be exciting to have like a full-time helper that's also my best friend. So I look forward to doing even more content. more stuff, live events, etc. Doing everything I want to do without losing the quality of what I'm doing. So I'm pretty pumped about that because it's a heavy burden doing everything I'm doing. So next March, hopefully this gets even better and bigger and more entertaining. Hopefully I don't blow it, but I think it should go well. And the third thing I want to say before I start is I have a promo code on dreamrare.com. It's last second, all one word, all caps, last second. If you need a last second gift, let me see. It's Monday, December 13th. If you order within the next couple of days, it should ship there. We have everything, every sweatshirt, every long sleeve, every hat. The beanies are sold out. I apologize. But if you use promo code last second, you'll save 10%, and we're shipping quickly. So if you do it in the next few days and you slack on Christmas gifts, it could be a quick fix to get it before Christmas and not have to go to the mall. So that's what it is. Everything's made in the USA too. First story I want to talk about, it relates to my last story with the Klaus Schwab situation, but everybody's putting out these articles. I'm just going to read ABC. It says, Russia vetoes UN resolution linking to climate change security. And basically, Russia somehow has veto power. To be honest, I'm not quite sure how the United Nations work, nor do I really like them over there. I thought it was funny when Elon Musk trolled them and made fun of them. But India voted no, Russia voted no, China abstained. I don't know what that is, just voting present or something. But it looks like Russia has the power to actually veto. And I'm going to read what the guy from Russia said. It's the ambassador. He said the reason they vetoed this resolution, it's not just a normal climate change resolution. They're now trying to link it to security and make it an even bigger issue. He said positioning climate change as a threat to international security diverts attention of the council from genuine, deep-rooted reasons of conflict in the countries on the council's agenda, said Russian Ambassador Vasily Nebenzia. Said this resolution would turn into a scientific and economic issue a scientific and economic issue into a politicized question and give the council a pretext to intervene in virtually any country on the planet. What he said is important because that's the same thing they did with COVID-19, same thing they're going to do with climate change. Very, very smart. He said it's going to turn a scientific and economic issue into a politicized question and even give the council a pretext to intervene in virtually any country on the planet, which is what they're trying to do. Now, when it comes to climate change and COVID, I see two striking similarities besides a lot. But when it comes to getting sick and environmentalism, I don't think it's fake. I don't think it's not a thing. But when they talk about, health, public health, here's two things they never talk about. And I talk about it here all the time. They never talk about diet. They never talk about exercise. They never talk about nutrition. They never talk about getting out in the sunlight. They never talk about, the benefit to sports and human interaction. In fact, when they talked about COVID-19, they did the opposite of that. They closed down gyms. They closed down restaurants. They closed down concerts. They closed down jobs. They closed down people's purpose. They didn't allow elderly people to exercise as much. I mean, if you were trying to kill people, I would think that was would be how you do it. And I'm saying what I'm saying. Just listen to what I'm saying. It's like they're taking away everything healthy. Stay inside, quarantine, don't go in the sun, don't play sports, don't exercise, don't see your family. Are you trying to murder people or are you just an idiot? Like either you're purposely doing that or you're really dumb. There is no other thing. Like they're not helping your health. You get what I'm saying? It's a full scale. If you run a country, you can't just worry about one thing and ignore 50 things. You got to look at the full scope. And if you make a huge decision that impacts human freedom, unlike it ever has, you have to weigh out the other 30. If you don't, you're a terrible leader. You're a horrible person. So that's what they are. So when you talk about public health under COVID, some things they never talk about is diet and exercise. How are you going to solve public health when you're not talking about two root level problems? They're not. They're making everything worse. I don't understand how people don't realize this. And when it comes to climate change, there's two things that you'll very rarely, I'm not going to say never, but very rarely hear them talk about. One of them is the sun. If you've ever heard of the sun, it's that thing in the sky that heats us all up. When it comes to the equation of how hot or cold the planet is, especially on the whole scale, you can't do it without the sun. The sun is everything. That's why people in the past used to pray to it like a god, because it heats our planet. So they never talk about the sun, which is the thing in the equation that is literally the most important heat source that's out of our control as far as we all know. And they also never talk about planting trees. You very rarely hear them talk about, well, we have too much carbon. So there's something called a tree that really, it sucks up oxygen and it spits out, it sucks up a carbon and it spits out oxygen. Trees are amazing. Humans are amazing. Trees and humans have this perfect relationship where we breathe in, they breathe out. They breathe out, we breathe in. It's a beautiful thing. I love trees. That's why some people say, anomaly, you look like a hippie. I'm a traditional hippie. You might see me hugging a tree, body surfing in the ocean at 9 o'clock. I'm that type of hippie. I'm not like a commie, let me steal your money and take your guns type hippie. I'm like I want to give a tree a hug because I appreciate oxygen type hippie. So they never talk about that. And it's the same with COVID. It's so simple that you almost think it's wrong. You're like, well, no, it's got to be a bigger issue. Of course it is. On a planet scale, there's a lot of carbon, there's a lot of oxygen, et cetera. There's a lot of noble gases. But it is that simple where you're like, well, what if we planted a trillion trees? Would that solve it? They have machines now. They don't even need them, but they have machines that actually suck out carbon and spit out oxygen. There's innovation, inventions. There's ways to solve these crises that way. They don't want to solve the crisis, though. It's the same thing with COVID-19. They really relate in the sense of there's a way to make people healthier. They don't want to do it. There's a way to really boost people's immune system, get all the vitamins you need, be as strong as you can, make sure your body has, less fat, more muscles, so you're able to, live longer, et cetera. There's ways to really combat this on a scale to live longer and be healthier. They don't want to do it. And it's the same with climate change, because if they solve the issue, then the whole thing runs away. And same with, it's like they want this to just linger over your head, so they have an excuse for the next 100 years to treat you like a slave, an animal, and a peasant. It's like, okay. The second story I want to talk about is the U.S. Omicron real quick. And once again, I don't want to, this is not to make people feel bad whether you're vaccinated, unvaccinated. If you got the vaccine or you didn't, I want you to be happy. I want you to be healthy. You're going to be happy. You're going to be healthy. You need a positive mindset. Don't worry about it. But I just point this out to show you that their never-ending scheme isn't meant to end. So it's been reported by the CDC that out of 43 people with the Omicron variant, 34 have been fully vaccinated. 14 of them had received a booster shot. And here's the little mind matrix that they have everybody caught in. So if unvaccinated people, if something bad happens to someone unvaccinated, Joe Rogan gets sick for 3 days, somebody dies or whatever, they look and they say, see, the unvaccinated are causing it. They're spreading it. They're the worst. You're going to die. You have to get vaccinated. So if something happens to an unvaccinated person, of course, they blame them and say, well, you needed to get it. If something happens to vaccinated people, whether they, find new variants in them, they're the carriers of the new variants, they're getting sick, they're getting hospitalized, they're dying, then they say, well, you need a booster shot, and you got a booster shot. Well, Omicron's there. So the CEO of Pfizer says that it's time for a fourth booster shot. So it's like a never ending matrix. It's like a choose your own adventure. If something happens to an unvaccinated, blame the unvaccinated. If something happens to the vaccinated, you don't blame the vaccine. You blame the fact that they didn't get enough vaccination. So it's like a matrix to keep you on a hamster wheel forever. And if something happens in a vaccinated person, they still blame unvaccinated people. You have propagandists like Jim Cramer probably just reading a script that he's too dumb to write himself. And then they just keep you on the cycle. It's like you get 4 boosters, a new variant comes. Well, you need a new one. You just need to keep going. It's never going to end because you get what I'm saying? I know people, and this has been a really beautiful thing. Like there's people in my family who got the vaccine, who didn't. I have a mixed bag. Luckily, my family's great and nobody really bothers anybody. But everybody in my family that got vaccinated, I haven't talked to a single person that wants a booster shot. And I don't judge them. They don't judge me. You get what I'm saying? Like I don't have that type of family that says, you can't eat for dinner. I'm very grateful to have a good family that made their own decisions and we don't make each other feel like dirt. But everybody that I've talked to in my family says, I'm not getting a booster shot. I did my part, or I thought I did my part. And now they're talking about this, that. I have family members that I'm talking to now that got vaccines that they're not wearing a mask in the Apple store. Like they're tired of it, and this has been a great to see some, to talk to some people. Cause I'm like, good, this is never going to end whether you got the shot or not, which I've been talking about for months, until enough people realize that it's not meant to end. So that's kind of my thing with COVID-19. They never talk about diet. They never talk about nutrition. They never talk about sunlight. They never talk about exercise. They took away all those things. They probably or definitely killed more people than they saved just off of the bare math of how many medics they diverted, how much poverty they created, how much inflation they created. These people are going to end up killing more people than Stalin and Hitler. Just do the math. If inflation keeps rising, if poverty keeps rising, if the middle class gets sucked away, if you count all the excess tuberculosis deaths, if you add up all the missed cancer screenings, if you add up all of the childhood obesity, I mean, these people are mass murderers. They just won't stop. And it's like in general, it's like Well, as soon as people stop being scared of Omicron, there's going to be a new thing, and then people are going to have to get the new vaccine, and then now we need to start talking about climate change. But I want to read, and I'm not really a fan of Russia per se. That's not my country. I know they're always like everybody's a Russian bot. We'll talk about that. But he said it perfectly. He said this is turning a scientific and economic issue into a politicized question, and it will give the council a pretext to intervene in virtually any country on the planet. That's the UN trying to pass a resolution linking climate change to security. So they're using climate change in the same way they're using COVID. And I'm sorry, NPR, who writes stupid articles about me, it's not a conspiracy theory. They write about it in books, they brag about it. Do you guys remember, real quick before I move on? NPR wrote a stupid article about me, and they said Anomaly is a conspiracy theorist who thinks that the government is using the pandemic to have more control, it's a conspiracy theory that governments around the world are using the pandemic to get more control. It's not even a theory, it's a fact. Just look around. Is Australia not using the pandemic to have more control? It's not even debatable. This is not even like a left right conversation. I'm factually correct, and you guys are idiots. Like, the real debate is governments around the world are using the pandemic for more control. That's a fact, what I said. Now the debate is it justified or is it unjustified? I think it's clearly unjustified. They think it's clearly justified, but there is no debate that they're using it for government control. So they're starting to do the same thing with climate change. Use climate change as an excuse. I'm not saying it's not real. Everybody knows climate change is real. The sun goes up, the climate changes. The sun sets, it gets colder. Winter, spring, summer, fall, Ecuador, America, Vermont. The climate change is real. Ice caps grow, ice caps melt. Hurricanes hit. There's no debate on climate change. Of course, the climate's always changing every day, every second, every week, every month. It's a beautiful thing. Now the question is, are you using it to establish some sort of global control? And are you solving the problem? Just because you make a product doesn't mean you cured COVID. Just because you shut down businesses doesn't mean you're helping people with their health. This is the disconnect, but these people know what they're doing. Maybe not the idiots who work at NPR, but a lot of these people running the show, they know what they're doing. It's just these little minions they have at like social media. Maybe they're too dumb to know what they're doing. It's like, there is no debate if they're using this for control. The debate is, are they actually solving the problem? I want to look at climate change and be honest about it. Okay, let's sit down at the UN. What's going on? The climate's changing. How? Well, glaciers are melting. Well, which ones? Because you said the Jacob-Shavin Glacier was one of the fastest thinning glaciers on the planet. And the Jacob-Shavin Glacier grew 3 years in a row. And then National Geographic wrote an article and they said the world's fastest thinning glacier is actually growing. Here's why it's not a bad thing. It's the same thing when like COVID cases are going down. COVID cases are going down. Here's why you should be afraid. Here's why it never ends. This is who these people are. So it's like, okay, the climate's changing. How's it changing? It's getting hotter here. It's getting colder here. Okay, how do you think you're going to solve it? Well, there's too much carbon. Is there? Okay, are we sure about that? If we're sure about that, why don't you try planting some trees? Because trees actually suck it in and then they spit out oxygen. Trees are pretty awesome. But they're not interested in planting trees. They're not interested in talking about solutions like the new machines they have to do even more work than trees. Because if they solve the problem, they can't hang it over your head and they can't take control. And I've read the book of Klaus Schwab and many of the people running the show, but especially that book. It's not a theory. I don't have conspiracy theories about Klaus Schwab. Other people do. Other accounts make up whatever they want or they post pictures of them. In my opinion, that's their First Amendment right, not to do like libel and slander. But in general, if they have a educated opinion, I think that's allowed. But I'm not even I'm reading his book. I didn't write his book. I didn't write a book about him. He wrote a book about himself. He wrote a book about his own agenda. It's called COVID-19, The Great Reset. There is no conspiracy theory about it. Maybe people make up bad ones, but I don't need to make up a theory. I read his book. In his book, he has this little graph, this little chart that he made or somebody made, and in the middle is climate change. And he talks about climate change, and just 20, 30 pages later, he starts talking about what he thinks about the world. He doesn't like capitalism. He calls it neoliberalism, but he's really talking about free market competition. And he's like, what we really need is bigger government, more control. So when they bring up these UN resolutions and they say, well, climate change is a threat to global security and pandemics are a threat to global security. And the only way to solve these issues is by giving us more money, more power, more control, and the ability to come into your country and tell you what to do. And then you're like, nah, I don't want to do that. And they're like, what do you need to be censored? Are you a conspiracy? No, that's what they're doing. This is what these people want to do. We in America, not everybody, but a lot of people in America, we believe in the freedom of speech, the right to bear arms. We like the idea of having less government in states like Tennessee, Alabama, Texas, Florida, etc. People actually want the federal government off of their back. And I personally, you don't have to agree with me, but I personally, I think that's a great idea. I'm very grateful that I live in America, not Australia. But people like Klaus Schwab, he doesn't make it hard to figure out who he is. And the people that are at the UN, they want a different type of system. They don't want sovereignty. They don't want Africa rejecting vaccines. They don't want America not having mandates. They don't want Florida open for business. They don't want Texas rejecting some of their mandates. They don't want that. They want a one world government, just like out of the Bible or out of everybody's favorite conspiracy theory. It's not really a theory. I mean, people have theories about it that might not be right, and people have theories about it that might be right. But it's not a bad thing to identify that there's certain people like the UN and like Klaus Schwab who would be much more comfortable under a one world government where all governments and corporations are working seamlessly together than our idea of a better world, which is individuality. And I'll tell you what, the reason that they are trying to destroy cultures everywhere, and this is why I'm different than a lot of conservatives, where on one hand, I think as ethnic groups, we all bleed red blood. We're all humans. I look for the content of people's character. I'm not so interested in their skin color. I'm like people in that. But I also do believe that your culture and your ethnicity is important, because what the global type people are trying to do is make it so nothing exists anymore. Like if you go to Europe, it's not Europe anymore. If you go to this country, India is going to be the same as America. They want everybody doing the same thing. They don't want you having your own culture, your own music, your own food. They want everybody following the same exact pattern. And that's not what makes America or the world amazing. It's just not. When you go to Africa, I don't want to see Texas. I want to see Africa. I want to see elephants. I want to see their culture. I want to see the safari. And when people come here and go to France, I want to see France's culture. I don't want to see the culture of another country. So this is where the right wing is so weak. They say we don't care, and it's like you shouldn't care about the content of people's character, and you shouldn't care about that. But at the same time, you don't want to let these people eliminate that, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to eliminate it on a worldwide scale and then have everybody following the same exact thing. And what really separates their power, whether you believe it or not, and I'm not a fan of China, but it's countries like China, Russia, India that are not playing ball all the time. China is communist, but they're nationalist communists. We're doing our thing. We're not going to listen to you. Russia, call Putin a dictator, but he's not trying to be told what to do. You know what I'm saying? I'm the leader of Russia. You're the leader of the UN. This is why they hate Putin so much. Maybe you don't like Putin, but you probably don't like him for a different reason than the UN doesn't like him. The UN and the mainstream media in the US doesn't like him because he doesn't play ball with the whole global agenda. We're Russia. We're doing our thing. We're not following you. And to be quite frank, that's how every country would be. I'm very proud of Africa for rejecting all of this stuff. Seriously. I don't think differently of them because of their culture or whatever. I'm like, good for them. It's great that they're a country that doesn't want to play ball with all of the injections. It doesn't make me an anti-vaxxer. I would like to see on this worldwide experiment, I want to see certain places 100% vaccinated, and I want to see certain places 6% vaccinated, not because I'm against the product, because I want to see a real experiment. So if you have a country like Gibraltar that's 100% vaccinated, Singapore's 85% vaccinated, Vermont's vaccinated, and then Africa's not vaccinated, let's look. And the results are clear. It's not doing that bad. But now they're saying, well, it's because of their age group. It's because of this. Do they look at any other country like that? Oh, this country's getting sick, not because of the vaccine or not, just because that country's too fat. They only do that in Africa. They say, oh, this is a younger crowd. Oh, yeah, they're healthier. They're outside more. But you didn't let us go outside for 3 months. So, you closed down beaches. So maybe did you do damage to us? You get what I'm saying? When they destroy a country, they don't look at all these outside factors. When a country like Africa that's around 6%, or a continent rather, like Africa that's about 6% vaccinated is doing astronomically better than most of these other continents, they're like, oh, let's take all these other things into factor. But that's where I'm like, on a personal scale, I don't care about the race of somebody as long as they're a good person. but I notice trends, I notice statistics, and I know that these people running the show, they don't want Russia to be Russia. They don't want Africa to be Africa. They don't want America to be America. They certainly don't want Europe to be Europe. They hate the white European countries. And they want to flip it, not to make a peaceful equality world where everybody gets along. So they suck the culture out of every place. So every place is exactly the same. They want a one world government. This is not a theory. I mean, it is a theory, but these people brag about it. They write books about it. I'm not mean. It's not like I think they want to do this. They'll write like, we don't think countries should do their own thing. We don't believe in state sovereignty. You know, we're mad when countries don't listen to us. We want the entire globe to be doing exactly what we say when we say, and if they don't, that's a threat to national security. That's a threat to climate change. That's a threat to public health. These are the games that they play. And why do they play the games like this? I'm not saying climate change isn't real. I think it is. Clearly, climate change is often. I don't think people getting ill isn't real. Clearly, it is. People get sick all the time. Why would I say that it's not happening? Why would I say that people aren't having different symptoms? But what I do want to say is they use these things as an excuse to pass certain legislation. So, for instance, after the pandemic, gun control's been at a recent low. People don't believe in gun control anymore. Why? Well, because when your country shuts down, it's a lot. You're like, oh, maybe I should have a gun. You know, oh, maybe it's not so bad to defend my family. So, you know, when something happens in the world, that shifts public perception. That's just how it works. It's not a theory. It's just how humanity works, including for me. So when a public health crisis happens, they use it to their advantage to get what they want. And what they want is a global governance where you can opt out, you get censored for questioning them. The CEO of Pfizer he thinks it's criminal to put out misinformation for COVID. Yet he at one point tweeted that he saw that in his data that you were 100% protected from hospitalizations from the COVID vaccine. That's misinformation, or that's a bad study. Would he be a criminal in his own hands? Well, Pfizer's criminals in everyone's eyes because they settled a multi-billion dollar, one of the biggest, if not the biggest criminal fines in U.S. history. But he wants to call other people criminals for questioning his product. So these are the games that they play. They use, whether it be climate change or COVID-19, as an excuse to gain more power, make more money, and then call everybody conspiracy theorists while they're doing that. But if you read their books, if you listen to them talk, it's not a theory. It's what they publicly say. They want money, power, control. And when there's a crisis, it becomes easier to do that because people are scared, or, you know, governments around the world cave as an excuse, and they do it. Something like shutting the economy down and closing down businesses. This isn't possible unless there's a crisis big enough that enough people believe is really bad. Well, then it's big enough. I don't think that's a conspiracy theory. I think it's just how politics and human psychology works. But that's my thoughts. Let me know yours. God bless you. God bless your family. Appreciate y'all. I'll hang out. It's 1:32 about. I'm gonna hang out for probably like 20-30 minutes, answer some questions, and that's it. I'll probably do some live streams. I'll definitely try to do some like videos and a few things, but for the first time in a long time, I'll probably do less work in the next couple weeks than ever because I do want to see my family and I don't get to very often. Someone said, question from a nurse. Why do the protected need to be protected from the unprotected by forcing the unprotected to use protection that did not protect the protection in the first place? John, that's a good question. Yeah, it's so obviously like not, you know, they push agenda over science. Like if they try something and it works, it's not like they're even trying to figure out if it works. If it doesn't work, they push their narrative. It's so clear. Like I don't want to be a broken record, but I mean, imagine thinking wearing a mask on a plane works when you could pull it down. So sometimes when I'm on a plane, the whatever flight attendant will be like, "Hey, sir, can you put it up over your nose?" But if I had a drink in front of me, I could keep it down for an hour and they wouldn't say anything. So it's like I'll drink for a minute, but if I drank but I need to put it up over my nose only if I'm not drinking. I mean, you have to be like a literal idiot to think that that is somehow a scientific approach to stopping the airflow on an airplane. Literally an idiot. But people don't care. You know, I don't know. I can't really tell how dumb people are, if they're power tripping, but it's like Do you not? Do you really think that works? Like the restaurant part, it's like slave training. It's like, what will people do? Let's see how much they'll do, and we'll just keep doing it. That's why it's so important to put your foot down. I don't care what people do, but at a certain point, this country's never going back to normal unless people realize what's going on. They're never going to stop. If something, it's like a never ending hamster wheel. Well, if you get 5 shots and it doesn't work, just get another one. And if that doesn't work, just get another one. And if that doesn't work, they'll figure out a way to just keep making you do this forever until people, the most free places in America are the places who are listening less. And there's no correlation between unvaccinated and just massive amounts of cases. They're counting cases to justify shutting down. There was a Newsweek article last week that said the 5 least vaccinated states are all seeing a decrease in cases in December. I'm even shocked that they're going down in December. I would think they'd be going up in December, but Google it, Newsweek. The 5 least vaccinated states are all going down in cases. And I say that because I understand there's hospitalizations and deaths are more important, but they're using cases as a justification to shut down entire countries. If you have 1 case, they could lock you down. If you have 15 cases, they could shut you in your house. They're using cases as a metric, which it shouldn't be used, but in general, if you're using cases as a metric, where's the correlation between mass vaccination and elimination of cases? Nowhere, literally nowhere. Not in Gibraltar, that's 100% vaccinated. Not in Singapore, which is over 85% vaccinated. There's no correlation between people getting massively vaccinated and cases disappearing. So it's just a basic math equation. If they're using cases to justify all this, it's literally never going to end unless somehow this just disappears. But it doesn't appear to do that. It seems like, and the real crazy part, if people want to get real crazy, I think Glenn Beck just said this on Tucker Carlson, but if you trace when they knew about this stuff, when Moderna was working with the government, when, it was early, Glenn Beck said on Tucker Carlson, he said he got, and this is allegedly, because I didn't fully look into it, but you can watch the video. Glenn Beck was talking about how he had some documents that proved that the Moderna and the government were working in 2019. If you Google Trump executive order universal flu vaccine, I implore you to read Donald Trump's executive order on a universal flu vaccine. Why? Because it was done in September of 2019, 4, 5, 6 months before the pandemic lockdown. Donald Trump did an executive order talking about a universal flu vaccine that would be for the whole world, talking about pandemics, talking about a task force similar to the coronavirus task force, merging like Department of Defense, like 8 different government agencies together. Event 201 somebody brought up, a coronavirus simulation from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, John Hopkins, and the World Economic Forum, a couple months before that. Then you have Ivanka Trump tweeting out that my daddy did a deal with Moderna in January. She tweeted that out. She's like, he was way ahead of the curve. He was doing deals with Moderna. Of course he was. I'm sure he was. Just like he was hanging out with Bill Gates the year before and offering him positions according to Bill Gates in the government. But the point I'm getting to is like, look when they knew about this stuff and look when they told you about it. It's two very, very different timelines. And if you look up Moderna and the NIH, our government owns or is trying to own part of the Moderna patent. So Moderna, the last I checked a couple weeks ago, Moderna doesn't want to give them credit or give them their part in it, but the NIH actually owns or is claiming to own part of the Moderna patent. So you have governments and vaccine companies working together, pushing mandates for a product that they own, that they profit off of, and that they have no liability for. You can't sue the NIH, you can't sue Pfizer, you can't sue Moderna. They are completely immune. They have 100% immunity from liability. That's why, I don't want to get into it too much now, but people are like, well, he didn't mandate it. I don't care. He rolled out the pathway. If you're talking about we're on step 10 of global tyranny, Donald Trump did 1 through 7. He paved the way. It doesn't make it a good thing just because it wasn't mandated. It was still corrupt to the core. Pfizer wasn't mandating products when they had a multi-billion-dollar criminal fine 5 years ago. This is like a new framing because people are like, it's either Trump or Biden. I have to defend or attack, and it's like, no, that's not. The whole world isn't in binaries. So just because big pharma killed hundreds, if not millions, of people with opioids, that doesn't make it right just because it wasn't mandated. Just like it didn't make it right when they settled out multiple criminal and bribery fines. That's it's not like, oh, if he doesn't mandate it, he's a good person and it's a good thing. No, the whole scheme was corrupt and rotten to the core from the beginning. And when you do corrupt, rotten stuff, it begins to rot further and further, and that's the natural trajectory. And I want to say this too, not to be combative, just to be factual. If Trump were to win, this is a confusion that people have. If Trump was to win in 2020 and be the president, I believe he would have stopped federal mandates. I don't think Trump would have mandated it on the military. I don't think Trump would have used his federal powers to mandate it. In fact, I could almost guarantee Trump wouldn't have done that. Okay, so he deserves credit for that. But here's what Trump wasn't going to do. He wasn't going to stop corporations from mandating it in all 50 states. He wasn't going to stop California or local governments. There was going to be a huge standoff. And similar to 2020, what did Trump do when Black Lives Matter burned down our cities? Nothing. He sat in a basement and tweeted. What did Trump do when California and Michigan and all these states started being authoritarian dictators? He didn't do anything. He just sat there and tweeted about it. So and people's excuse would be like, oh, he didn't have the power to do it. Okay, I agree. So then why would you think he would have had the power to stop mandates? He would have only stopped federal mandates. So this idea, if Trump was president, that mandates wouldn't be here, that's a lie. He wasn't able to stop California. In fact, he buttered them all up, gave them all the money they could ask for, gave them all the power, did the lockdowns, Operation Warp Speed, and then 2 months later, he sits and acts confused at why they're being dictators. It's like, bro, you watched them do it and complimented them for the first month, and now you're acting shocked. So would there have been federal mandates? Absolutely not. Would there have been local, state, and corporate mandates? For sure. And Trump wouldn't have done a damn thing about it. So it's actually very convenient, I think, for Republicans politically. It's very convenient, the fact that they lost, because now they could just sit and point and act like they had no point in any of this stuff, where Biden, his Build Back Better plans, his printing, his economic stuff, Biden's oil and gas plans, he's a disaster. I think he's purposely making everything worse. I would never defend him unless it was right. It's just not, because he's garbage. But here's the thing. It's very convenient for Republicans to sit and say, oh, yeah, we wouldn't have done that. Where would inflation have been as high? Probably not. But, dude, inflation was coming. I know people don't want to think it was, but when you print as much money as Republicans and Democrats printed in 2020, inflation was around the corner. So I believe it's a political scheme where Republicans can sit there now and everybody hates what's going on. So now they're going to vote for Republicans and probably win in 2022. Rightfully so. Republicans are the better party. But this idea that they had a plan, you think they had a plan? Look what they did in 2020. They were a mess. The country was more locked down than it was here. They don't have a plan. They didn't have a solution. That's politics, though. The whole game is when Republicans are in office, Democrats just say, oh, if you vote for us, we have a plan. Biden's like, we're going to eliminate COVID. We're going to defeat COVID. He was lying through his teeth. But apparently enough people believe that, or enough people got locked in their house with mass mail-in ballots to the point where he's in office now. And now there's millions of people on the right wing who believe if Trump gets back into office, he's going to be able to fix all this. When he was there in 2020 and he was literally able to do nothing. He did literally nothing. I mean, I can't think of a worse year on record for our country than when he was in the office. Does it mean it's all his fault? Of course not. Someone said, you used to be worth listening to. Now you sound stupid. Well, I feel like it's just projection. I think what I'm saying is intelligent, it's wise, and it's something that you're not going to hear on most conservative-leaning platforms. So your initial reaction is to just freak out. It bothers your echo chamber. So you're like, that's stupid. That's stupid. Let me find a channel that just tells me what I want to hear. And that's part of the problem of politics. People don't want to hear the truth. People want to hear what they want to hear. They'll watch CNN. Oh, Joe Biden's going to solve coronavirus and fight the orange man. And people watch CNN. It's not because it's true. It's because CNN's telling them what they want to hear. Maybe you want to watch Fox News or Charlie Kirk or something, whatever. I'm not trying to make fun of Charlie Kirk. I'm just saying Maybe you want to watch somebody that's just like a team red elephant man, like put the elephant hat on and just tell you exactly what you want to hear. Oh, this is 100% Biden's fault, 0% Trump's fault. The Republicans are the best. We never did anything. We're going to solve the world. And then you're like, yeah, it doesn't make it right. That's just what you want to hear because it stimulates what you already think, which is wrong. So I don't think what I'm saying is stupid. I just think you don't want to hear what I'm saying. It's actually really simple to think about. Like for example, and then I'm going to move on. In 2020, the country was very locked down in many areas. In fact, almost every area. When I used to say, "Man, this is not good," people would say to me, "Well, Trump doesn't have the power. Biden uses his federal power. Trump doesn't. Trump apparently only uses. Trump can lock the country down, but he can't open it up. Trump can pass executive orders. He didn't need Congress for the executive order. He gave the universal flu vaccine. You guys don't pay attention. He uses his power to do all this wicked, terrible stuff. But then when it comes to wielding his power, he all of a sudden can't do it for the good, only for the bad. He can only pass executive orders that go against free speech or funnel a bunch of money to big pharma, but whatever. Okay, and then you go with the theory, well, he has no power. Let's say I agree with you. Okay, he has no power. Then how is he going to stop corporate mandates if he has no power? If Trump doesn't have the power to do anything with the states, how in the world would he be able to stop state mandates? He wouldn't have been able to. That's all I'm trying to say. He would have been able to stop federal mandates. Trump would not have been able or would not have probably been willing to take on the fight with the corporate and state mandates. That doesn't even necessarily mean a bad, like I said something so basic on Twitter and people like freak out at me. Like I literally just linked Trump's executive order. I didn't even say anything. I just said, this is literally I wanted people to read it. You don't even have to hate it. Just read it. I don't know. Why do you think I know so much? Because I read things. I don't just like talk and yell at people, but whatever. I posted the executive order. I didn't even say anything bad about Trump. I just said, hey, check out this universal flu executive order from 2019. And someone comments and says, anomaly, I hate you. All you do is talk bad about Trump. And I'm like, the people that get mad at me have like Trump obsessive syndrome. Like I literally just posted a link that you don't want to read. So your brain like malfunctions and you want to like run away. It's like, then run away. I don't know what to tell you. Like it's creepy to me, honestly. Like even when I really like Trump a lot, I never acted that way. People would say things about him all the time that made sense. And I would be like, yeah, no, I hear you. It's like, I would be like, he's got to do like, I can't, no offense, but I don't know what it's like to be that ignorant. Like just to like malfunction. Like, no. I'm like, dude, just read you know what I'm saying? If you pass an executive order, read it or don't read it. I don't care, but don't yell at me for posting a link. People try to literally like call me a Democrat agent because I literally posted opensecrets.org. It's like, this is not me deep diving on his personal stuff. When you're a politician, you have to make your information public about where you're getting your money from. So they take all of that and they publish a thing and say, here's who got all the money from Big Pharma. There's nothing wrong with it. I just literally posted it in a video and I said, look, Biden's number one, got like $8 million from Big Pharma, and Trump's number two, he got $2.5 million from Big Pharma. And also Trump in 2016, he got $1 million from Pfizer for his inauguration. They paid for part of his inauguration. And then he put a pharmacy lobbyist at the head of HHS. All I said was that. And I had Republicans calling me a Democrat agent. Like, you can't, people have been so wrapped up in like the emotions of politics that you can't even talk about pharmacy lobbying. Everybody used to care about lobbyists. We got to take the money out of politics. Even the Young Turks are like, let's take the money out of politics. Bro, why is Cenk Uyghur, or however you say his name, Uyghur, why is Cenk Uyghur slobbering over Big Pharma when he's the same person in the Young Turks? They're like a progressive socialist, news network named after the Armenian genocide or whatever. He's like, oh, we got to get the money out of politics. Then why the hell are you so obsessed with defending Big Pharma when they're the biggest lobbyists in Washington? You get what I'm saying? But like liberals aren't liberal anymore because they're so obsessed with like hating Trump or something and hating conservatives. And then conservatives like malfunction when you talk about pharmacy. Someone said, you don't know that. I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe that's a delayed thing, but if you're talking about the donations and where he got his money, it's public domain. It's not really an opinion. But maybe you're talking about something else. But it's like I guess because I go hard, sometimes people are like bugging, but sometimes I'm literally just like speaking or tweeting like chill, and people can't handle it. I want to say something real quick too. Like, if you look at my Twitter feed, or most people in politics or news analysis Twitter feed, all of it is like, what I do is like commentary. Sometimes I make jokes. I try to be funny, right? I try to like make things funny to make people laugh, because I like to laugh and I like to have a good time. But when I use Twitter, a lot of times I'm just commenting, right? What do I really do on Twitter? I just comment on news and politics, make jokes sometimes, but I'm commenting on it and I'm analyzing it. That's all I do. That's why I call myself a news analyst, because I analyze the news. I put my opinion or perspective on the news. That's all I ever do. But when I say something about Trump, people say, "Man, all you've been doing is complaining. You're complaining." And I'm like, dude, this is all I do anyway. Like, if I just say Kamala Harris is a loser and Joe Biden's an idiot, no one calls it complaining. I'm just analyzing them. Everybody loves it. The second I analyze Trump in a way that's unfavorable, now I'm a complainer. Where it's like, it's just funny to me, where I'm like, if I complained 100% of the time about Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and Democrats, you would never say, "Oh, you're complaining too much." You'd be like, "Yeah, keep complaining, because you're complaining about things that I want you to complain about." I don't really complain. I just comment, but it can seem complainy when I don't know. It's like everything's not perfect. So if everything was great, I guess I would never even say anything. I wouldn't even be here. So I'm just kind of weighing in on it. I just find it funny personally, where it's like, you're complaining. Like, the problem is not my complaints. The problem is I'm not saying what you want me to say. So you perceive it as super negative when I'm literally just the same person I was 10 minutes ago. It's just funny. I don't really care. Um, Someone said we want the truth no matter who's behind it. And I say this often, but iron sharpens iron. Steel sharpens steel. As an athlete, I like to play sports. I like to work out. How do you get stronger in the gym? You gotta work out. You know what I'm saying? You gotta lift heavier weights. You don't want to hurt yourself, but in general, if you want to run 1 mile or 3 miles, you increase in order to win. In order to be a great athlete, you gotta play the best teams. What a lot of people in politics like to do, and I'm not trying to act like a douchey athlete or anything, but in general, like, what I notice with a lot of people in politics, a lot of people have this gatekeeper mentality, right? Like, when I saw Candace Owens' first video, I was like, yo, I got to share that. Why? Because it was great. There was never like, oh, I feel threatened because someone else. I want great people. Like, it's for the country, it's for the world. It's not about me. It's not about my attention. I want to get this stuff out here. If it's great, a lot of people don't have that mentality in politics, because they're not really impressive people. Some of these like dweeby morons who work in government and at these things, they know they're not that interesting. They know they're not, so they're just keeping their gate so nobody better can get. I'm not like that. If someone's great, and there are people like that as well, but I find that in politics, what people want to do, and maybe that's why they bother, like they don't like what I'm saying, is I'm used to competition. I'm used to. I don't want to just look at Joe Biden and say Joe Biden poops his pants. That's easy to say. It's hilarious. It's definitely worth bringing up. Like, maybe he poops his pants, maybe he doesn't. But in general, like, I'm more interested in the tough battle. And the tough battle is the fact that our own party is letting us down. So these are things that nobody's saying that everybody should be saying, because it's like, if our party keeps sliding, we're going to lose even when we win. We won in 2020, but we still kind of lost. You know what I'm saying? The country didn't get better. Make America great again. The country is in shambles, harder than it's ever been. I'm not blaming Trump like it's all his fault. I'm just saying, he said make America great again. America's in a biomedical security state, and he's on television selling Pfizer vaccines. That's not good. So I'm going to talk about it. But it's not like a bad thing to challenge your own side. The people who think it's bad, like in politics, no offense, but a lot of Republicans, they're not interested in helping the country. And a lot of people are great, but I'm just saying, like, as somebody that I'm an influencer or whatever, you can see who's who. There's a lot of real ones. There's a lot of freedom fighters. There's a lot of people with passion. But there's also a lot of people who just care about money and power and looking good and sitting on Fox News or whatever. So in your mind, they're really fighting hard for you, but they're really not. So I'm challenging our own side because I want to win. I want the country to be better. I really mean what I say. I don't like mandates. I don't like orange vaccine salesmen. I don't like diaper vaccine salesmen. It's not my thing. I don't think that's what the country needs right now. They've sold enough vaccines. It's time for Orange Man to move on. But in general, people, they get mad because a lot of people in politics, they want to just do the easiest thing. Like, let's go on Fox and let's just joke about Kamala Harris, or let's just joke about Joe Biden. It's worth joking about, but at a certain point, it's low-hanging fruit. It's like if I'm the best team in the NBA and I just keep playing a high school team over and over again, or like if you ever play video games, I'm the type, I put it on extra hard. I never put it on easy. Why? Because I don't feel good beating a crappy team. There's two different people. Like, you ever play Madden and put it on easy? You win by 50. Or you put it on extra hard and you might lose a lot, but you get better and eventually you win. That's the type of person I am. A lot of these people, they just want to put the game on easy all the time. That's a lot of these Republicans. Let's just say the easiest thing. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to make me better. It's not going to make our party better. It's not going to make our country better. It's not going to really do it. It's going to put money in my pocket and get me at Mar-a-Lago or whatever. This is who these people are. They're like, let's play everything on easy mode. Let's do nothing. And the easier our opponents, the better I look. And that's what politics is. Like, oh, let's be Joy Reid and pick out the worst conservatives, or try to and fail miserably because Joy Reid's an idiot, but in general, a Harvard graduated idiot. But it's like, this is what a lot of these people in politics want to do. It's like, let's find the worst thing we could find and put ourselves next to it so we look really good. And I'm starting to realize that's who the Republicans are. They had a chance to impress me in 2020. They certainly didn't. And now they've learned nothing because they don't have to learn anything, because nobody seems to care. So that's why I care. When I go to these news networks and stuff, I want to tell people about this, because that's where the disconnect is. People get so upset when I talk about this type of stuff, but it's because iron sharpens iron. I'm not here for some handouts. I want to go on a cruise again. I don't want, when I eventually have kids, I don't want them to grow up in quarantine camps. So, I'm not here for the Grey Gutfeld goodies. Just like crack a low, foxhole, and it's like, ha ha ha. It's like, yeah, it's funny, bro. But what's less fun? It's like, we gotta challenge each other, and that's what a lot of people don't want to do. So that's where I come from. I like the competition. I want to get better. Our party's never going to get better if we just make fun of Democrats all the time. That's like, everyone's doing that. It's boring to me. That's why I don't even spend that much time. And if I make fun of Joe Biden, it's going to be funny. I'm going to make it good. Someone said your open-mindedness makes people question their comfortable reality. You love to see it. Keep up. Thank you. Appreciate the super chat. Someone said Clinton, George W. Bush, Obama, Trump, boomers had their turn. I would like to see the next president be younger, not Kamala Harris, but like, dude, Biden's too old. He's way too old. And honestly, listen, I'm not trying to be mean, but Trump is too old too. I'm sorry. He sounds like a grandpa now. He does not sound like himself 2 years ago. He's like, I did it. I saved the world. It's like, all right, Grandpa Moderna, you're the best. Give him some crackers and a McDonald's Happy Meal and put him in his, like, he's too old. Let Ron DeSantis or someone else go. I don't fully trust him, but at least he's 43. He's not going to just does Biden even know what he's doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, Trump's just like, he's like, I'm the best. I did it. It's all about me. And it's like, yeah, dude, you're so cool. Like, it's like, dude, let's let Grandpa sit on his golden throne. Okay. He can watch Fox News, play with Barron, but let's let somebody in their 40s take over the country, and not Pete Buttigieg. I don't know how old he is. DeSantis is young. Yeah. I mean, I would prefer him for sure. Someone said you face the hard to discuss topics. That's why some people don't like it. I'll tell you, the amount of people who were talking trash about me, who were saying the same thing I'm saying, it seems to be a trend. It's like the cycle of being a Republican, do nothing, get mad at Anomaly, lie about Anomaly, accuse Anomaly of fake things, realize Anomaly was right 5 months later, start repeating the same thing he was saying 5 months ago and acting like you came up with it yourself. It's not a thing that I came up with. I don't own it, but I'm just saying that's the cycle of these people. They hate me. I block them. They start repeating what I'm saying. They realize I was right. They tell their audience what I told them a year ago now. And then they like message me on Instagram and apologize and say, dude, I'm so sorry. Can you unblock me on Twitter? I just didn't want to hear what you were saying, but I know you're right now. I'm like, nah, I don't want to unblock you. You know, I'm good. Someone said, look how horrific California is doing. Democrats are definitely the worst. There's no question. There's no question that Democrats are worse. There's no question that Republicans are better. But for some reason, Republicans feel like they have to like only do like 1/8 of what they could do. Like I'm young. I don't want to run for office, but I'm just saying if I did, maybe into my 50s, like I'm not playing games. I'm just not. Like there's like homelessness is not going to be allowed. Like here's my homeless policy. Somebody steal this, please, in the Republican Party. Take my homeless policy. Say you were running Los Angeles, Dallas, whatever. Homelessness is illegal. You are not allowed to do this. Are we going to hurt you? Are we so mean? No, we're going to give you every opportunity under the sun. Every single opportunity. Do you need a job? Go get a job. Do you need help with drugs? We'll help you with drugs. Do you need mental help? We'll give you mental help. Are you mentally ill and it's past the point of repair? We got you. You know, do you just need someone to talk to? For sure. But if you can't do any of that, get the hell off the street. You're not going to just be able to destroy society. Like I'm ready to go full, none, zero tolerance policy for homelessness, zero tolerance policy for crime, zero tolerance policy for murder and high theft robbery and home invasion. Zero tolerance, none. That's what's going to fix the country. Not like, oh, I funded HBCUs. Look how not racist I am, guys. I'm a Republican and I funded black colleges. They still don't like you. They're never going to like you. Glenn Youngkin, congratulations. You're so not racist. I'm so tired of these idiots. Yes, they're better than Democrats, but it's starting to be pointless. You know, if I'm young. I would be the youngest person in politics, but by the time I'm 50, if these idiots can't figure it out, I'll help y'all. I just don't want it right now. They'll try to ruin my life. I can guarantee it. But I'm too young. I got media stuff to do. But a zero tolerance policy for any of this stuff. I'm not living. The whole country is going to be ghetto soon. The whole country is going to turn into a ghetto. People, robberies are starting to increase in the suburbs. Like it's only going to get worse. And people just sit there and they're like, but Trump funded HBCUs. Who cares? That's so nice of him. But if he can't do it, someone else has got to do it. Well, he couldn't do it. Then he's not the guy. But he couldn't do it. But I want him back. If he couldn't do it and you want him back, what's the point of acting like he's going to do it? You just said he couldn't do it. I'm not even blaming him. But if he can't do it, then what's the point of pretending like he can? I'm tired of these Republicans. I'm sorry. I'm going to vote for these idiots. But my job is not to vote. I'm not clapping like a seal. I don't need their donor money. I don't need their Israeli donor money. And then I'm just like, oh, let's pass speech laws for Israel. And then Israelis are getting forced vaccinated and all of a sudden they don't say anything. I'm the only one saying anything. I get messages all the time. They're like, Israelis are like, Anomaly, thank you so much. You're the realest one. Like you're the only one who talks about Israel. Because I don't use you for a political prop. I don't need their donor money like the Republicans do to just suck up money and then act like they like you and then turn their back on you and side with Pfizer. I don't need I don't need that. So that's why people like me. I'm not just here like slurping up donor money and just like selling us speech laws. And then when it comes time to actually like care about humans, like, oh, we're actually supposed to care about these people. Like how much money did Democrats raise from Black Lives Matter? How much money did they get through Act Blue? All these progressive causes, like hundreds of millions of dollars. And now what are they doing with those hundreds of millions of dollars? Trying to kick the majority of Black people out of restaurants and bars in New York City. Like this is why pandering means nothing to me. Who cares if you stand on a stage and say, I love Jews? Wow. Oh yeah. Oh, I apologize. She says, I'm so sorry. I went to this museum to apologize. Oh, wow. You're such a good person because you went to a Holocaust museum. I'm not saying don't go check it out, but it's like, I'm so tired of these politics. Oh, I said something mean and then I stared at statues for 2 hours and now I'm a totally changed person. No, you're not. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. Like, do you really care? Like, I don't need more platitudes. Oh my God, we built a George Floyd statue, but crime's up 100%. Then who cares? Like, what? How are you helping Black people? They're not. Nobody that overly plays their hand like that, they don't care about you. They think of people like a political prop. If I act like I like Black people, people will think I'm not racist. If I act like I like Jews more than everybody else, people will think I'm not anti-Semitic. Like, it's just kind of creepy. Like, it's like, I have a line in my song with Patriot J. I said, you post a picture with your Black friend just to say that you did it. You a gimmick. It's not authentic. It's rented. I said that, like, there's people, like, if you have a Black friend and you're like, yo, like, me and my boy playing basketball, like, it's whatever. People post pictures with their friends all the time, but like, you see some of these like liberal women, they're just like on the street. They're like, dude, I just met Carl at Starbucks. We had a great conversation. This Black is like, he's just like, dude, I don't even know this shit. It's like they're just taking a picture to be like, look how not racist I am. I had this great conversation with a Black guy. It's like, you don't have to take a selfie of yourself doing it. Like, I had a conversation with an Asian pastor, when I was at the coffee shop 2 weeks ago, but I didn't take a selfie and say, dude, Asian lives matter. Like, dude, look at me. It's like, dude, oh my God, you're so nice. Like, it's so corny. So, everybody loves to just do it for the clout. Like, oh my God, dude, it's so diverse up in here. Like, dude, is it diverse or is it just me? It's like, like I feel like they're treating people like statues. Like, it's creepy. I'm gonna go to my Jewish friend's house next week. Maybe I'll take a selfie next to the menorah. Last time I went over his house, it was Hanukkah. I guess it already passed, but last year it was Hanukkah. Like, imagine if I just took a selfie next to my friend with like his like little menorah and be like, dude, just just hanging out, spreading love, dude. Christian, Jew, like, dude, like, dude, what? Did we just stop racism? Like, no. Jewish people are still getting beat up in New York, and Asian people are still getting mugged in San Francisco. Sorry, you didn't lower the crime rate. Maybe next year. Maybe we just need a few more selfies, and the Asian people getting beaten up, in inner cities is gonna just disappear. Like, I don't know. I'm built different, but I do love all people though. We gotta say that we love everybody here. He's like, I like when Trump was actually funny. He was like, ugh. Do you remember? He was like, I love Asians. He's like, Chinese, I love the Chinese. He's like, I rent to Chinese all the time. I'm like, that was so funny. Like, I love a good, like, dude, I don't hate Chinese people. I sell apartments to them every day. It's like, it's so funny. Or like when he was eating Mexican, he's like, dude, I love the Mexicans. Oh yeah. He's like, this taco bowl is so good. Oh yeah. I love Mexicans. Come get your Trump bowl at the Trump Tower. I'm like, see, that's a good time. Like, Trump did it so, I'm not gonna say poorly, but he did it so funnily that it wasn't like a pander. It was just like hilarious. Like, everyone's like, dude, that's so racist. Like, no, that was just so funny. It's like, he's like, dude, I'm out here just eating a quesadilla, dude. Like, how could I hate Mexicans? I'm eating tacos right now. Like, come on, dude. When's the last time you saw a racist eat Taco Bell? You're like, he's got a point. I mean, he's going to get my vote. Someone said Obama gave us phones and Trump gave us re-up money. Yeah, I wasn't broke enough to get an Obama phone at the time, or I guess I wasn't hood enough. I don't know. Did white people get Obama phones? I was broke. I guess I just didn't get one. I did get the Trump money though. So when it comes to socialism, I prefer myself some Donald Trump because his socialist money got in my bank account. But at the same time, I lost so much money off the inflation that they're never going to admit they contributed to, but whatever. Oh, I had to be on welfare to get a free phone? Yeah, I didn't get the Obama phone. I mean, with the Trump bucks too, like I had somebody the other day where I was like, yo, that was a mistake. And he's like, I bet you cashed the check. And I'm like, of course I cashed the check. I'm not just gonna let money sit on my dresser as a political statement. I'm getting that money. But if I have money saved and in stocks and everything goes down and I get 1,200, and then inflation goes up like 20%. Yeah, I didn't make money. You know what I'm saying? Like I lost money. Everybody lost money. Nobody made money off that. Not and if Biden didn't get in office, inflation was still coming. It probably wouldn't have been as high, but it would have not been good. I promise you. Like this is like this game they play. They just ping pong it back and forth, and everybody just blames everyone else. And it's like all of them. You know what I'm saying? It's all of them. I'm tired of all of them. I like two politicians, and I don't even like them that much. And I'm not a hater. It's just they're so lame. Someone said Facebook snuffed you. I don't think so. I'm okay. I'll let you know if they snuff me. I'll be crying like a baby if they really snuff me. Someone said, can Americans take in Canadians? There's Canadians who come here all the time. Jordan Peterson was just here. He's like, Justin Trudeau, why are you testing me so much? It's like, dude, just stay here. Someone said, how to stop racism, stop talking about it, said Morgan Freeman. Yeah, I mean, for sure, the people who talk about it the most, they don't want it to die. I find that I have a little thing that I figured out. People that cry, like the best people that are Jewish, Black, White, Asian, Hispanic, like the best people get it, and the worst people are annoying. Like I've never met like amazing people of every ethnic group that like cry all the time about racism. And I'm not saying it's not, but like I feel like the worst people just blame everybody else, and the worst people are always like, "Oh, if you hate me, you hate all Black people." Like no good Black person says that. They're like, "Oh, if you don't like me, you must not like." People do that of every like race, and they're like, "Oh, if you don't agree with me, you must be an anti-Semite. Oh, if you don't like George Soros, that's starting to seem really anti-Semitic." It's like no good Jewish person says that. It's only people that like don't want to take accountability that they like use their whole race as a shield, and they're like, "Oh, you're talking about everybody?" And you're like, "Literally no." But it's like the people who get it, they don't do that. Like people who work and have families, like the people that aren't on television all the time, they put the worst people on television. Like the best people don't go on TV all the time. They're just like doing actual things that matter. But over talking about it in a way that's dishonest is definitely not making it go down. But it's the same thing. It's the same thing as like COVID and climate change. If racism went away, it wouldn't be so easy to use for them. I'm going to read this. Kipper, Mikkel, I've had this discussion 30 times. Someone said this dude saying Trump was a socialist. What type of reverse CIA bullshit is this dude on? Bro, socialism, you can look up the definition. Trump in 2020 printed $9 trillion, $9 trillion. Everybody was forced to sit at home. And then Trump sent out a Trump check, which is universal basic income, which is probably one of the worst policies ever created that absolutely was going to impact inflation. You can't just sit everybody home for 2 months and print money. Donald Trump did that. This is just my thing. Imagine being a conservative or a libertarian or a Republican or whatever you are, or a Trump supporter, and not realizing that 2020 was like one of the most socialist years on record. I voted for Trump in 2020, but my options were Trump or Biden. If you don't think that was socialism, just because it has Donald Trump's face on it doesn't make it not socialist. This is how brainwashed people are getting with politics. Well, if Biden does it, it doesn't matter. If Trump does it, it doesn't matter. Like, grow up, dude. Like, what would you call it? Trillions of dollars, more money was printed in 2020 than ever before. I believe more money was printed in 2020 than the first 100 or 200 years of the United States total in 1 year, while half the country was sitting at home. What would you call the CARES Act, where every person under a certain income got $1,000? I would call it the biggest welfare scheme in recent history. He put literally the entire country on welfare and universal basic income. Socialist is being nice. I could call that communism, what happened in 2020. So someone said I didn't agree with the Trump checks. Whether you agree with it or not, I'm just saying that's not free market capitalism. That's not small government. That's socialism or communism. I'm not even saying I hate Trump because of it. That's just what happened. This is so crazy that people don't even know that. They're like, I like Trump so much. That's capitalism. It's like, no, it's literally not. You know, you're like, what planet are you living on? Oh, it's reverse CIA bullshit. Bro, open your brain for 2 seconds, dude. Someone said 40% of all money was printed in 2020. Exactly. So you think that's capitalism? You think that's not socialism because Biden wasn't president yet? What? Someone said, who are two politicians you like? I'll talk about that later, but it's like someone said he gave us relief checks to counter the Dems by locking us down. Is it not socialism then? Because now we're framing it. The only way to fight the Democrats is by putting everybody on welfare to fight the Democrats. The Democrats don't care about that. That's the greatest thing you could do. You're fighting Democrats by doing socialism and communism. The only way to beat Nancy Pelosi is to print money and give it to everybody. Like, dude, that's the greatest thing. They want that to happen. You think they don't want that? You think that's like this huge counter? Ooh, Pelosi shivering in her boots. Never, dude. It's an Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez policy, printing a bunch of funny money. Someone said the Trump cult continues. Bro, this is what, like, I say something so basic. Like, listen, I voted for Trump, but that was a socialist move. Whether you agreed with it or you don't agree with it, I don't care. I don't care if you think it's the great. It's not capitalism, and it's certainly not small government. Oh, but people will literally falsely accuse me of being CIA because I point that out. It's not my opinion. It's not like I'm making this up. Oh, Trump's the so. What do you think that is? It's crazy. People have lost their minds over this guy on both sides. Like, it's nuts. And this is a common thing that I notice as well. When, like, I'll say something like, okay, this policy is not free market, it's not conservative, it's not small government, it's a socialist communist welfare money printing scheme. Whether you like it or not, that's what it was. Okay. I say that people can't debate it. They don't understand how to counter it. So they just falsely accuse me. Oh, you're CIA, you're Mossad, you're China, you're Russia, you're working for Democrats. Like, because I said something that you don't want me to say. And you guys talk, oh my God, liberals are so bad. Yeah, they are, but you're getting just as bad. Like, you falsely accuse somebody of something that you're completely wrong about because they say a fact that bothers you. If I say a fact that bothers a left winger, they call me a racist, they call me a sexist, they call me a xenophobic, they call me a conspiracy theorist. If you say a fact to a Trump worshiper that they don't want to hear, they call you Mossad or CIA or China or Democrat with no proof because they don't have it because they're wrong. You get what I'm saying? Like, what, you don't even have a way to counter that. Your brain just malfunctions. You're like, I love Trump, I hate you. It's like, dude, it's really creepy. It's super creepy, dude. It's like when I was reporting on the lockdown in March. Listen, I liked Trump in March, but I didn't like the lockdown. I didn't like Operation Warp Speed. So what did I do? I used my platform to be an honest person and say, here's why this is a bad idea. Here's the stats. Here's this. And you know what a lot of people did to me? Oh, who are you working for? The lockdown is good. We're fighting China. We're arresting pedophiles in the sewers. We're arresting the Vatican. And I'm like, no, you're not. You, like, this is such, I'm not trying to be mean, but this is such like a beta mentality to have. Listen, the world's not going to go your way. Things don't go my way all the time. I don't hallucinate fake realities to make myself feel good. Like, that's a beta weakling move. Like, you know, I don't agree with the lockdown. So what if I just sat at home and pretended like I'm living in a Batman movie and Donald Trump's going to, like, you know, kill the pedophiles tomorrow in a basement? It's like, that shows me that you either are mentally ill or you're such a weak, pathetic person that you're not able to grip reality and face it like a man and do something about it. So you sit there on your computer and act like you're a secret wizard. You know, like, I read Harry Potter books. I thought I was Harry Potter. I was 13. But, you know, you got grown boomers and grown millennials thinking that they're like, you know, the Scooby-Doo van because they read a message board. It's like, it's embarrassing. You know, the psychology behind it is you're too fake and pathetic to deal with reality. So you make it easy on yourself. It's like, you know, there's people like, I'm not a human, I'm a fairy. I'm a fairy and I float around and I give everybody bubble gum. It's like, no, you're mentally ill and you need to see a psychologist. Like, oh, no. The lockdown's a good thing, Anomaly. You must be a Mossad agent because this is not socialism. This is capitalism. We're just arresting the pedophiles. Tomorrow, the Vatican, I read it on Telegram and I'm like, No, you're losing your mind or you're too weak to like cope with reality. You could say, "Hey, I like Donald Trump. I don't agree with the money printing, but he didn't know. He got fooled." People say that to me all the time. He got fooled. He had to. But to completely deny it and act like it never happened, that's not normal. You could be wrong and say, "Oh, he did it for this reason or that," but to be like, "What are you working for somebody else because you talk about things that I don't want to hear?" It's like, no. It's wild. Nowadays, you can build your own reality online. You know, if you want, like, if you only want to listen to fitness experts and financial advisors, you listen to that. If you want to go to World Star Hip Hop and watch hood people fight each other, you can watch. People are able to create their own realities, politics, fitness, rap music. You know, so certain people have created their own echo chamber, even if it's left wing or right wing, to say, I just want to follow people who tell me what I want to hear, you know, which is fine, but I guess my favorite people on Twitter are people who tell me things that I don't already know. I don't want to hear things I agree with all the time. I want to hear somebody like I wouldn't even have a show if I got mad at people who disagreed with me because I wouldn't have anything to talk about. I learn everything I know through people telling me things I don't know, reading books I've never read. If I just read the same book over and over, it's like, yeah, I get, you know, where it's like if I want to be like that, I just read Where's Waldo every day. Well, I found Waldo. It's like, dude, you've been reading Where's Waldo since you're 10 years old, but it makes me feel good. But I feel good when I find Waldo. It's like, yeah, it's cool. That's nice. But like, you know, it's like that's not how you become great at anything. Like reading the same book and acting like you solved the mystery puzzle. It's like the dude, put down Where's Waldo. Like read a real book. I feel better when I win all the time. Like this is the mentality I can't cope with on the right wing. That's what people want to do. They just want to win these fake games all the time. I don't want to play. I want to play like a semi-professional basketball player one on one and lose a few times and win one time. I don't want to play kindergarten and say I won 11-0. Like that's what people want. That's why, you know, outside of politics, you're not going to do anything in life if that's the thing. Like I won again. It's like Anomaly told me something I didn't want to hear. Good. You probably need to hear it. Somebody needs to say it. I don't know. If you've never heard it before, then just listen. And I will never be okay with the Republican Party running around Fox News selling injections when they ushered in a biomedical security state. Every time they get on television, they should be apologizing. I'm sorry for my pathetic leadership. I'm sorry for locking the country down. I'm sorry for extending it. I'm sorry for giving so much money to big pharma. I'm sorry for allowing mass mail back. Like they should be apologizing to me, not selling Pfizer products. I can't cope with that. I've heard like and I want to say this too, real quick. People think that he's doing that for votes. Like, oh, he's doing it because he's getting. No one cares. Out of everybody in my family that's vaccinated, nobody even cares. Like, Trump is starting to be like cringe to a lot of people because it's like, we know about the product, bro. Everybody got it that wanted to get it. Millions of people who got the product are tired. Everybody's tired of hearing about it. Whether you got three, it's like there's a very minority, like psycho Berkeley, you know, like my hair's orange. I have 15 cats and I blog for Huffington Post. That's like a very small minority. Somehow they have all the journalist jobs that want to get boosters forever. 90% of the country, vaccinated or not, they just want to go back to normal. They're so tired of this stuff. Trump is not appealing to the majority. He's appealing to Pfizer. He's appealing to Moderna. He's appealing to the elites. And he's appealing to his own ego. He's like a big baby who just wants credit for something that's not even that good. He's an idiot. So I'd rather tell him than just act like it's cool. It's not cool. It's not to pick up votes. It's not a moderate position. Everybody's tired of it. Everybody's like, dude, get over it. Like, no Democrats watch Trump brag about saving the world from the Spanish flu. And they're like, you know what? I was going to vote for Biden, but now that Trump nonstop talks about Pfizer products, he really sold me. No one likes him that doesn't like him. You get what I'm saying? Like he's not like reaching out to this new demographic. Like someone like DeSantis or, you know, I'm trying to think of who else, like newer conservatives who aren't like 100 years old selling fire. Like that's who's picking up. People like Candace Owens. She's reaching out to like liberal women and people that don't know. He's not like blowing anybody's mind. Like nobody's listening to him anymore. You get what I'm saying? Because people are like, he's doing that to get votes. No, like that's what you tell yourself when you don't want to face what's going on. So it's not like this thing that's working, I promise you. Someone say you have TDS, you've been talking about Trump and the vax forever. Well, we live in a biomedical security state, so it's kind of like unfortunately taken over the whole planet. I can't go on a cruise, I can't travel, I can't leave the country. I'm a prisoner in my own country because I don't want to get tested and vaccinated. So I talk about this because it's literally taken over the planet and it's what they're using to establish like a communist style regime. And I talk about Trump because he's the front runner, not just for the Republican Party, but he's the front runner for the next election. He's favored over Biden to win the 2024 election. So he's the leader of the opposition movement. He's the opposition leader party, and he's on television selling the product that they're using to keep us down. If that doesn't scream controlled opposition to you, something's in your ears. And I'm not calling him controlled opposition, but what possibly could be a bigger hint than being literally like maybe he's controlled by his own ego, maybe he's controlled by his advisors. I'm not even like, but how could I not talk about the biggest topic on earth and the guy who is favored to win the next election, and he's literally the number one top dog, not in the country. He's not the opposition leader for the country. Donald Trump is the opposition leader for the whole world. Everybody's looking at him, and he's on television selling Pfizer products like a grandpa. That's why I call him Grandpa Moderna, Donnie Drip, the mRNA Trump pump, Don Juan, the pharma pimp, the big pharma shawarma, Donnie J Moderna, aka Grandpa Moderna, Johnson and Johnson Jr., Don Jr., Johnson and Johnson Jr. I like there's many things we could say. It's just at a certain point you just want to leave it alone. Someone said Putin said no to the UN plan. He can't be all bad. If Putin was Stalin, they would like Putin. They want Putin to be like a mass genocidal communist. Like they have a bigger problem with Putin than Stalin. Stalin killed millions of people. Putin is not great, but he's like a leader of his country and unapologetically. He's not a global communist, and that's why they hate Putin. I'm not saying Putin's perfect. I'm not saying he's an ethical person, but the problem with Putin, Lukashenko from Belarus, Trump when he wasn't being a Pfizer sellout, the problem is they're not playing ball. They want someone who completely plays ball completely. And even Trump, he didn't fully play ball. He didn't do everything they wanted him to do. It's just, unfortunately, he didn't turn into who people thought he was. But, any leader that doesn't completely play ball with the UN and the EU and the, multinational corporate left-wing commie agenda is an issue. And I would say Putin is like a stronger, smarter version of Trump, who is way less unapologetic. Trump's like, he's kind of like Putin if Putin was like a clown, like a clownier, like a WWE version. But, that's why they hated Trump. Bolsonaro is a way better leader than Trump. Bolsonaro is calling out Pfizer while Trump sells their products. So any of those type of leaders, are a threat. Someone said Putin respects his people. He's a way better leader than Stalin or any of these other like Bolshevik, like Soviet Union types. Is he perfect? No, but here's the thing. I've talked to people from Russia. They're like, dude, it was bad 20 years ago. It was bad 30 years ago. In many ways, Putin cleaned it up. So it's like, they hate like Giuliani, and I don't even trust Giuliani, but he did a good job of running New York as far as crime. And like New York was like a no-go zone for a lot of the 90s and the 80s. And then he cleaned it up. And then New York was really good and everybody wanted to go there. And now New York is a dump again and nobody wants to go there. So, it's like any leader that provides any sort of value, they hate. The people who run our media are like the worst people in the world. The UN, they don't care about crime and safety. Like So eventually, what does America need? America needs a leader that just says, enough of the BS. We're going to, you can eliminate crime. You just got to be tough on it. You can't be weak on it. And unfortunately, like we don't live in a perfect country. So how do you stop it? You know, I, you got to get a little tougher on it, unfortunately. And there's many things that are leading to more crime. And pretty much all of those things you're not really supposed to talk about or notice, but pretty much everyone notices. Someone said my cousin would attest. So Giuliani, anybody from New York or the New Jersey like tri-state area, saying that lived around New York, everybody knows it that was alive at that time. Like New York back in the day for a while was not great, and then it got better for like 15 years. And now it's going backwards because Bill de Blasio is a loser. Someone said Putin scares me because he's KGB. Putin cares about Russia. He doesn't care about you. Xi Jinping cares about China. He doesn't care about you. These are, it's actually funny. If you saw Trump, I actually want to do a whole live stream, so maybe I'll wait on it. But Trump is now cursing off Netanyahu because Netanyahu was not loyal to Trump during the election. And I guess Trump said F-U-C-K Netanyahu or whatever. So now Trump's all mad. And I read one comment and it was so perfect where it's like, dude, Trump is such like an egotistical baby. He's so easy to fool because he's so into himself where it's like, Netanyahu doesn't care about you, Trump. He never cared about you, dude. Like, get over yourself. He cares about Israel. Netanyahu cares about Israel. Putin cares about Russia. Xi Jinping cares about China. Abe, whatever, Shinzo, or whatever his name is from Japan, he cares about Japan. And you're supposed to care about America, not yourself. America. But Trump is such a narcissist. He's like, why don't they like me anymore? It's like, they never cared about you, dummy. Everybody just uses you. All your advisors, everybody you talk to, because you just like rub his tummy like Buddha and tell him he's a special boy, and he'll let you do anything. He's like, why didn't Netanyahu's not your friend, dude? But he's my greatest ally. Yeah, people in America say that. They're like, they really care about us. Israel cares about Israel. America should care about America. We're just too stupid. Our politicians in the Republican Party and the Democratic Party are like traitors. They're like, the only way to care about America is to care about another country more. It's like, no, Israel has the right idea. They care about themselves. They care about their people. Yeah, they'll do deals with America, but you're not their number one priority. That's why if you serve in the Israeli government, you have to give up your American citizenship. If you're a Russian Israeli, you have to give up your Russian citizenship. Why? They want you loyal to Israel. And that's smart. In America, you can have a dual citizenship. They don't care. This country's disgusting to the point where Trump's like, why doesn't he like me? It's like, he never likes you, dummy. It's politics. He's like, what about this? Dude, and he's not the most loyal person himself. He called Bannon a dirty dog, crying. Bannon's crying. Like, bro, you treat everybody like dirt that's around you, and you expect everyone to like lick your shoes. Like, these he probably got eaten for lunch by Netanyahu. Netanyahu ate Trump's lunch, and you know who really ate Trump's lunch? Xi Jinping. Trump. We're fighting China by working with Moderna and the federal government to do universal flu vaccines and locking our country down while they party in Wuhan. Oh yeah, you really stuck it to China. Meanwhile, we're still completely dependent on them economically. Sloppy Steve. Dude, he's just a clown. He's like, I told Xi Jinping that we would nuke his country or something. Like, it's like, dude, these people, oh yeah, he really likes you. And Trump literally said he was walking around China saying, oh, it would be a shame if we blew this up. Like, he said that to the leader of China, and then China stabs America in the back. Our economy implodes. China goes up, and Trump's like, I wonder why. I don't think China did it. Dude, he's a clown. He's a total clown. You can't just go around the world like threatening politicians and having no plan and then being like, why don't they like me? I thought we were friends. Like, why? Like, we need a politician who cares about America more than themselves or another country. Someone said China got it from Fauci. Yeah, I mean, to me, the whole the whole thing is a diversion from like, yeah, where did it come from? Did it come from a lab? Who was funding the lab? Why were the people funding the lab also working on an mRNA vaccine a year before? Like, these are the questions that no one asks, because it's either like China virus, Trump virus. Like, it's so generic. Like, oh, it's a China virus, it's a Trump virus. Oh, the Trump's fighting China. Like, what if I told you they were both working together in the lab and people like Fauci were funding it, and companies like Moderna were working on mRNA vaccines before? Like, what? Can we have that conversation? No, it's just like Trump versus China versus liberals versus Chris Wallace. It's like, no, I'm over it. Someone said RFK Jr.'s book, Exposing Fauci and Gates. I have it. I'm reading it. Bestseller. All right, a few more. My computer looks like it's going to die, so let me see. A couple more minutes. Someone said, I thought he was suing big tech. He probably is, because he's very effective when you tick off Trump. Like, Trump cares a lot about himself. So, they deplatformed him. I don't think he cares about the country or your free speech. And I don't think Trump gave two shits about any of his supporters who got deplatformed: Julian Assange, Alex Jones, Milo Yiannopoulos. Trump doesn't care about anybody, but you deplatform Trump. Yeah, I'm sure he is suing, and he's creating his own social media. I hope it goes well, but I don't think he's doing that because he cares about the First Amendment in our country. I think he cares about himself, and once he got deplatformed, rightfully so, he's annoyed, which he should be. But if you care about yourself so much, maybe the president's not the best spot. But yeah, I forget what I was going to say. Someone said, did Daily Wire stop asking you to talk about? Did Daily Wire ask you to stop talking about Jews and Israel? No, I went there for first of all, I don't like the way you frame that. I talk about Israel. I talk about the data. I talk about the relationship between America and Israel. I talk about the speech laws. I don't talk about Jews. Like, I don't like the way you framed it. Like, Ben Shapiro told you to shut up. Like, dude, I didn't even talk about Shapiro. No, that's not what I do. I talk about race, religion, politics, everything. But did they ask me? They didn't. Dude, I was on a panel for 20 minutes. They said nothing to me. They didn't say, you can't say this, you can't say that. People like to be edgy in the comments. They're like, psst, yeah, psst, psst. It's like, dude, stop being you're not sneaky. Like, it doesn't, it creeps people out when you do that. Like, Jewish people get creeped out when you act like that. Just act normal and say what you mean, and people will like it or they won't. I don't need to like whisper around. I'm going to talk about it. I'll talk about Israel when I want to talk about Israel. I'll talk about America when I want to talk about America. I'll talk about race when I want to talk about race, but I'm not being sneaky about it. No, Ben Shapiro didn't say, psst, anomaly, in order to be on my show, you can't talk about Israel. And I'm like, oh, sign the paper, Ben. No, I need this attention so bad. It's not even a big deal. No one cares. They didn't offer me a show or anything. I was just on a panel. Julie said, I'm a little creeped out of you flip-flopping on Trump. I didn't flip-flop on him. He's just not, to be honest, I just don't think he's a good person anymore. I thought he was doing a great job, and I think in times of turmoil, it shows what your true character is. And honestly, as a leader, I have zero respect for Trump right now. As a man, I don't really respect him. As an American, I think he's embarrassing. People are looking for leadership. He helped usher in a biomedical security state. He helped crash the economy, fund big pharma, create all this mess. And he seems like he doesn't care at all about it, at all. He doesn't talk about the biomedical security state. He talks about mandates about 1/20th of the time he sells the vaccine. As far as I'm concerned, Donald Trump went from the greatest leader in the world to a Pfizer salesman. I consider him like a low-rate used car salesman clown who uses his TV time not to lead humanity, not to lead the country, but to brag about himself and act like and lie that he saved the world from the Spanish flu epidemic because he funneled a bunch of money to Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and Moderna. And funneling money and power to Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna is what got us into this mess. When you give them that much money, when you print that much money, you're going to get the results of what you did. You incentivize it, it'll keep happening. It's the same as like, well, if there's a COVID case at the hospital, you get 10,000. If someone dies, 55,000. It's like, well, when you're cutting off their other money supplies at a certain point, as a hospital, you start to have some tough decisions to make. It's, the whole system was ushered in 2020. The mass testing, how they're doing all this stuff. So yeah, I didn't flip on him. He flipped on us, but I'm not like a pathetic peasant. I don't bow down to Daily Wire, dude. I've said what I want, and I still got invited. Ben wasn't even there, but Candace never said a word to me. She People in the comment section annoy me more than Candace. Candace never said, "Don't say this, don't say that." She said nothing. I texted her, said I was going to be in Tennessee. She invited me on the show within 10 minutes. Never said one word about what I could say. Never tried to control me. Never would do that. And people in the comment section say, "Don't say that. Don't say this. You're that." People in the comment section annoy me more than mainstream news does. But even if they said that, I would. Do you think I would? You think I would do a Daily Wire show if he said, "Don't talk about Israel"? Like, who do you think I am? You think I would do Fox News if they said, "Hey, Anomaly, don't talk about the vaccine or Trump"? And that's like, you think I would do that? You think I'm that desperate for 30 seconds on television, or 5 minutes behind Daily Wire's paywall or on Candace's YouTube channel? I wouldn't do that. But she doesn't. She's not that type of person. You might think she's that type of person. You might think I'm that type of person, but that's not what happened. She didn't say two words to me. There was no request of any talk, and she picked the topics, so I didn't really have that much leeway of what I wanted to talk about. But when she picked the topic, I could say whatever I want. But I didn't shift on Trump. Like, listen, it would be easier for me to just do something else. I'm embarrassed, honestly, by his leadership. It's bad, and he's not my leader. So I think people deserve, him to be challenged a little bit. Because if he's going to just walk out and be 80 years old leading the Republican Party selling vaccines, that's not good for the country. So people that are so mad at me, I guarantee you'll be the type of person that's thanking me in 2 years and saying, "I was so wrong. I didn't see it. I didn't want to admit it." You know how many messages I get like that? "Oh, I hated what you said, but now I agree with you. Oh man, I didn't want to hear it a year ago." It's like, I'm not saying anything crazy. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm not creating a theory. I'm just watching this dude's leadership, and I'm like, if I was like a loser or something, I'd be like, "Oh, that's really good." No, it's not good. It sucks, And a lot of people, I think, in politics, they want to live vicariously through people. Like, a lot of people don't want to change their own life. So they sit on the couch and watch Joe Biden. They're like, "Joe Biden's going to save me from Trump." People voted for Joe Biden because they thought he was going to eliminate coronavirus. Like, imagine how brainwashed you have to be to look at Joe Biden and think, dude, he's really going to fight the coronavirus. How the hell is Joe Biden going to fight coronavirus? But if you don't want to do anything, you just watch Stephen Colbert tell you that Joe Biden's going to save you. And it's the same thing with Trump in some ways. Some people like Trump because he inspired them. Some people like Trump because he was tough. Some people like Trump because he was, for a while, the best president we've ever had, the realest one, the most loose. There's no denying it. He was more authentic than anybody we've ever seen in my lifetime, and I would never take that away from him. It's a shame of what he ended up as, but he was killing it for the first 3 years. So a lot of people like Trump for that reason, but I find right now, a lot of people who are still hanging on to the Trump thread, it's not that they're doing so from a position of power or honesty. They just shiver at the fact that he might not be who they thought they were. So instead of challenging him and trying to get him back on the right path or get the Republican Party on the right path, people want to live vicariously through him. Somebody asked me what I think of X22 report. I haven't listened in a while, but when I tuned in, I am underwhelmed. I think he's brainwashing people into thinking Trump is like a Ninja Turtle who's always doing the right thing in the shadows. And that's destroying the Republican Party because people are just, instead of facing the tough reality and doing something about it, they're sitting here playing this candy stand game where every day is going to be a special pedophile arrest. And when it doesn't happen, they then pathologically lie and say that they didn't say that. Listen to his reports from early January. January 6th, January 20th, he's going to be back. I'm sure he'll be in the White House, buy my gold. And then he's not in. Oh, I never said he was in. It's like, it's weird. It's weirdo stuff. Like, I like Mike Lindell, but he said Trump's going to be back on the 20th. Trump's going to be back in August. And then when it doesn't happen, they never admit that they were wrong. Like, I voted for Bernie Sanders over Hillary Clinton. I won't even say I regret that because Hillary Clinton is trash. But in general, I admit that I was fooled by Bernie Sanders. I didn't understand taxes. I didn't understand economics. I didn't understand this stuff, but I'm willing to admit it like a man. I was 25. I didn't know anything. I didn't understand politics. I was never a Republican growing up. So I admit that. Wouldn't it be weird if I just pathologically lied about all my mistakes? I could go through a laundry list of songs I wrote, lyrics I wrote that I'm not proud of now, but I'm not going to act like I never said it. I've been a rapper since 19. If you want to look up my old raps, Google it. You can find my first rap when I was 19 years old or 18. Let the beat build, Anomaly. It's actually pretty good. But in general, this is what I don't like about a lot of the cute Mike Lindell type people in X22. It's not the fact that they're lying all the time. It's not the fact that they're just telling people what they want to hear and trying to make it into like a mystery Scooby-Doo train to make people feel good. It's the fact that when they make a prediction that's wrong, they never face it and say, hey, I said that, I'm wrong. They said, I never said that. No, I didn't. I just did. I said maybe. Like, it's like, dude, they're like pathological liars. So it's like this, how could you listen to somebody that constantly makes mistakes, but then isn't even man enough to admit it? That's why as a man, I don't trust politicians. I don't trust Ron DeSantis, but I respect Ron DeSantis as a man. Why? Because his leadership is pretty good right now. And he cares about the people of Florida, and he cares about the people of the country, or at least is doing things to suggest that he cares a lot more than other politicians. I don't respect Donald Trump. Ron DeSantis in an interview says he made a mistake shutting the country down. He admitted it was a mistake. I respect him. Why? How can you trust somebody that makes a huge mistake and won't even admit it and won't even say they're sorry? I don't trust Trump. I don't really trust DeSantis, but I respect him as a man for saying, with the data I have now, I would have never locked down. Donald Trump has never apologized for the lockdown. He doubles down on it every time he's on television, just like he doubles down on the vaccine. I did it. I'm the best. I saved the world. I locked the borders down. I locked out. He's a pathetic man. He's a wicked man who's let pride and ego turn his soul into mush. And when you listen to him in interviews, he sounds like a dog with his tail between his legs. 6 months ago, he sounded like the strongest person in the world. Now he sounds pathetic. Why? Because he knows he's lying. You think he thinks he saved 100 million people? Maybe, like the same way Alec Baldwin thinks he didn't pull the trigger, or he didn't even know he shot. Like that's why Alec Baldwin probably hates Trump so much, because he sees himself in Trump. And I would say Trump's probably a better person than Alec Baldwin, not even close. But in general, it's like, maybe you lie to yourself so much you actually believe yourself. But I respect people that admit they're wrong. So when it comes to certain people, it's okay to have a bad theory. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to give people bad intel, but it's never going to end if they never admit they did it. So that's what I look at, like Trump and, the X22 types, where it's like, I don't care that you made these mistakes, but the fact that you're always like, I never said that. Just wait, Patriots. You're a digital warrior. Trump's going to be back in office. Whoa. And then it happens. And look, I didn't say that. You must be deep state if you call me out. That must be just wait, Patriots, any day. Now it's like, yeah, it's like, but I got to go because my computer's going to die. I don't even blame them, to be honest, because if people listen to it, like, you have to have your own discernment. For example, I like Mike Lindell. I think he's a nice guy, but I have clips of him. I've never used them, but I have all the clips of him saying Trump's going to be back in office by the 20th. He'll be back. I guarantee it, 100%, blah, blah, blah. He guaranteed it so many times. Then he said March, then he said August. I have all the clips of him saying these dates, like saying, and Mike Lindell's a position of authority. Well, if Mike knows Trump, so he must be telling the truth. People trust them because they're an authority figure who know Trump. Every time he lied, Mike Lindell never admitted it. He, in fact, this is like I believe this is kind of like a trait of like a narcissist. And I don't like to use that word lightly because it's an overused word. But Mike Lindell then starts being like blaming people who call him out and say, like, remember when you said Trump was going to be back in August? I never said that. That's the media. And like Lynn Wood does that sometimes too. I think Lynn Wood is a good guy as well. But like when Lynn Wood gets called out, sometimes he's like, you must be deep state. You must be CIA. It's like, some people probably are. I think Lynn Wood's a nice guy, but it's like, if you dare question Lynn Wood, you are questioning the truth. And if you question the truth, you're a bad person. Like this, I like Lynn Wood as a person. I think Mike Lindell's a nice guy. I don't think they're bad people, but at a certain point, pride and ego will kill any man. It'll kill your spirit. It'll kill your career. it'll kill your trustworthiness. So you have to say, hey, I thought Trump was going to be back in office on the 20th. I was wrong. Or I did everything I could to get Trump back in office, but it didn't work. That's not what Mike Lindell says. He says, oh, you think I said that? Who? The media spun it out of control. And it's like, dude, I have videos of you saying that. So this has been a new thing in politics that I mean, the left does it all the time. The left is always like lying and playing double standards. But on the right, a lot of, and I'm not blaming everybody, but a lot of the Q people, it wasn't just like theories. Like, yeah, we all think that there's pedophiles everywhere. I agree, but not everywhere. But you get what I'm saying. There are pedophiles in government, duh. But they would be like, we are going to make these games and you can't question us. And if you question us, you're so dumb. And I'm going to talk to you like a baby, even though I'm dumb myself. And I'm just going to say that they're always going to get attacked. And Trump's my hero. I'll question everything, but not us. And then they like make these grandiose, like I remember like Easter's going to be the day. And all these like people are like, Easter's going to be the day. And then Easter passes. And I would just be like, hey, remember when you said Easter was going to be the big day? I never said that. I never said that at all. And I'm like, bro, I have the screenshot of you saying that. Like, it's not a big deal to be wrong, but you're not just a conspiracy theorist. You're a pathological liar. That's the part that creeps me out. You're not going to creep me out with theories, good and bad. You're going to creep me out by pathologically lying. So, I think that part of the right wing needs to go away. Like people that said they're 100% sure about the 20th and then saying they never said that, it's not a bad theory. You're just a pathological liar. It would be like if I said, like I never did this. It's like, yeah, I did. I made a mistake. It's fine. For the first, couple of days of 15 days to slow the spread, I knew all this stuff they were going to do, but who knows? Is it a bioweapon? Or is this going to be a bioweapon that they released on us? Or is it mild? You never know. But I mean, people who watched me, I never was like, yes, lock down the world forever. Like I was like, dude, this seems like a scam. Get your groceries. They're going to use this for authoritarian control, mandated vaccines. I called all that. But to be honest, I was like, who knows? Maybe this is really bad, And then as the data started coming out, I started reading it and I was like, okay, this is overblown. But like Ron DeSantis, for the first couple of days, I was unsure, and I was like, well, this might be pretty bad. Or this could be pretty bad. But to me, that's the sign of like a semi-decent person. Like, will you admit that you didn't know what you know now? I didn't know what I knew now 5 years ago. I'm not going to know what I know in 2 weeks now. I don't trust people that double down on the lie and attack you for saying that they did what they did. Like if you said anomaly, didn't you support Bernie Sanders? I've been transparent about that. Millions of people that supported Trump supported Bernie Sanders. People were looking for an outsider. Bernie presented himself as an outsider. He ended up not being. Trump presented himself as an outsider. To be honest, he ended up not being better than Bernie, but whatever. I don't have shame in that. It's like, yeah, I was younger. I didn't know anything. Imagine if I just lied. And I'm like, didn't you like Bernie Sanders at one point? No. Like, no, you definitely did. I have like video clips of you talking about Bernie Sanders. No, I didn't. And it's like, dude, why would anybody trust me or like me if I just lied about that? That's the creepiest thing to me. Like a lot of people are starting to do that under the guise of, well, I follow this or I'm a truth teller. It's like, I don't care who you think you are. Stop lying so much. It's like doubling down on a lie is creepy to me. I don't like that at all. Someone said, I never thought Bernie was an outsider. You're good job. I mean, I don't come from a conservative background. I don't come from a Democrat background either. I come from a rap. I was a rapper. So I was like, wow, this guy's not a Democrat or a Republican, I have to say, though, like pretty quickly with Trump, I knew multiple people who liked him. And I never had this, like, I mean, I might have thrown off a tweet or two, like, oh my God, Trump's bad, like early. But once I talked to my friends, my stepfather, people, I was like, they explained to me like why they like Trump. And I was like, okay, I get it. Like, even before it was my thing, I don't think I ever was that type of person. Like, I was never like, oh, my best friend in LA liked Trump. And we would hang out, watch the debates. He would make fun of me for liking Bernie. I would make a joke about Trump, but I was never that type of like, oh my God, you like Trump, I can't be seen with you. He was just like, haha, you like Bernie. And I was like, ha, I was like, whatever. And like, we would just watch the debates and be like, whatever, good luck, good luck. This whole like, I don't want to hear things that that's how you become stubborn, left or right wing. Like, okay, he said something I don't want to hear. I gotta close it off. And it's like, all right, my computer's gonna die unless I can find my charger. So maybe I'll just end it. Someone said rap background. Yeah, I was rapping since I was 19. The whole reason I got to Los Angeles, I had millions of views, hundreds of thousands of downloads. I still rap, but I rap on my own time now. I don't need a deal. I don't need a label. I don't need to tour. So I rap when I want to rap. I don't feel pressured or I'm not on a specific timeline. But yeah, Google. If you want to see a funny video, go to YouTube and type anomaly, let the beat build. My first ever filmed recording, I was in West Virginia at school. I was 19 years old or 18 years old, and I rapped over Lil Wayne's Let the Beat Build. I had a bowl haircut. I was pretty nice. I mean, you watch they wanted to sign me to like certain labels, and they would be like, don't rap about politics. And I never signed these deals because I never thought it was cool. I was never a sellout. I never wanted to be famous. I never